Are we
No,
gonna
no.
turn into that? Are we gonna turn into podcast where like maybe 10 minutes through we just do a
Oh.
hard cut? And like, do you ever feel like you need to be more active in your life? Well, try this. You know what I mean. So-
Yeah, like, did you know that like 40% of men experience male pattern baldness?
Oh no.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to Overinspected. Once again, guys, the greatest speed cubing podcast in the world. I am your
Two in a
host,
row.
Michael Chai, and then beside me are our every single time co-hosts Carrie and Manu. What's up?
Hi everyone
Hello,
again.
hello. Hope you all had a good
So-
week since we last saw you.
Yeah, hopefully everyone had a pretty chill week. And then I know, well, what I wanted to discuss today, because it's actually a very important topic to us, and we wanted to get this out at some point. It was just kind of like bugging us, because this is something that kind of shows in a reflection of maybe what the future of cubing could look like. But today, we wanted to talk about cubing sponsorships. So for the first part that I wanted to like kind of provide some context to the audience, sponsorships for cubers and cubing can come in various forms. And I wanted to kind of highlight and start with maybe for some of the first sponsorships that ever came out for cubers as an option with cube stores, right?
Yeah, like stores is in like
Like, for example, like your
give
local
examples.
regional cube store. Like your local regional cube stores are great examples of that because they attend competitions, provide gifts and prizes for competition. So they sponsor prizes. But what they've also been doing in the past years as cubing has grown is they've sponsored cubers. Sponsor, have them wear the cube store's merch, stuff like that. Have them maybe attend competitions on their behalf. And a great prominent example is the cubicle, right?
Yep.
So I don't know, what are you guys' thoughts? Do you guys have any feedback on what it looks like right now or versus what it could look like?
Well, I think the first thought I have is that I think that like speed cubing stores do a pretty good job of reaching out to people and getting them sponsored like pretty early on. Because I'll see like speed cubers with like 500 subscribers on YouTube and they're already sponsored, and I feel like with mainstream sports, like you're not gonna get sponsored unless you're on a big team.
Yeah.
Like if you're just like the talk of the town or like the best player in your high school, you're not gonna get sponsored as a like, football player.
Yeah.
I don't think.
I think
So
most
I
people
feel like
don't,
they do a good outreach.
Yeah, I think it's also cool is that I think that there's they're like two. It feels like there's like two kind of distinct levels of sponsorship, right? There's like the people who get sponsored due to like the results. There used to be a meme going. I don't know if this is like kind of a meme, I guess. People used to refer to the cubicle jacket as like I think it was like the sub 7 jacket or something. Like you could only get this jacket if you were
Not
had
anymore.
a sub 7 average.
There are so
anymore.
many sub-7ers. There's so many.
Yeah, there's no way. But that was like the meme, right? So like, there's like the results-based stuff is if you're like one of the best cubers in the world in your event or whatever. But then I think what's also really cool is like it feels like somewhat more recently there are a lot more like social media sponsorees. People who are like really big on their respective platforms, whether that's like YouTube. I know Twitch is like growing. I think TikTok is also growing too, which is pretty cool. So it kind of like gives like both sides of like the exposure, I guess, for the cubing store, right? There's one where it's like, we have our sponsoree, they attend a bunch of competitions, they get good results. People naturally wonder, where do you get your cubes from? Oh, I get my cubes from XYZ store. And then it's also like, hey, I really like this cubing cubers content. So, where maybe like, and if I can support this, if I can support their content by purchasing stuff at the store, I'm a speed cuber. I like speed cubing stuff. I can get a discount code if I do it this way. So I should do this as well. I think it's really cool that there are like two avenues.
Yeah.
I wonder which one is more profitable. Like, I wonder. Like when you buy products, do you find yourself buying the cubes that you've heard of in a popular YouTube video, or do you try to?
Oh my god, dude! I have such an interesting question just for like how profitable these things are. You know why, Carrie? So I think Ludwig had this whole thing. I think he did a sponsorship with ExpressVPN.
Yeah.
Oh my
He
gosh.
had
ExpressVPN
so he had a
sponsors, like,
sponsorship
every
with
YouTuber.
Yeah, exactly. And then basically you're supposed to hit a certain number of downloads. And then ExpressVPN reached out to him saying like, hey, we're not really seeing the downloads coming in through your streams. Is everything okay? Like, what are you doing? And then Ludwig was talking to Chat and like, Chat, I accidentally messed up and I didn't mention it a single time. So your boy is in a conundrum. So, you know, he did that whole thing.
Oh,
And then the next day,
I know his
ExpressVPN was
audience is
like,
gonna pull through.
what the heck? We got the most downloads in our history of our company.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I find that like with this outreach stuff, like as a content creator, if you just do like a bland like shout out of a sponsor, everyone kind of just ignores it because they're used to
Well,
it.
it's because I
But if you
don't click it. You guys don't click it, right?
Dude,
Yeah,
I'm
no one
to the point where like, you know, I know the sponsor segments are gonna be like a minute long, right? So I just hit
Yeah.
my 5-second forward
Oh,
12 times.
man.
I'm like, all right, like, you know, give
Yeah,
me
I'm
the rest of the video.
Yeah.
The funny thing for me is that on my keyboard, L is what jumps forward 10 seconds.
Okay.
So if a sponsor comes up, I'm pressing L, but it's like I'm also saying L. I don't want to hear the sponsorship.
No, that's funny.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
but-
just. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say that with Ludwig, I think, you know, if an internet celebrity says, "Oh, I'm in trouble," or "I forgot to do something," like, you gotta help me out, then the audience is gonna listen because like they don't want to see them go to jail. I
Right.
mean, they're not gonna go to jail.
Not
but, you know,
jail, right. Or if they're
Yeah.
like funny bits. I like it when I like it. There are like some YouTubers I watch who will like they'll include like little bits into their like sponsor segment. Like they'll have like recurring characters and stuff, and I find that stuff like very amusing. So like even though like, you know, and sometimes I probably won't click most of them, but I just find them amusing, right? At least I'm more likely to have heard of your company if the YouTuber does like an interesting sketch or something.
Yeah, it's sort of like
Yeah.
a genre of video in and of itself now, like how to make a sponsorship engaging.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
yeah.
the whole thing about advertising, right? And like the numbers game. Like if you make your company known as to many people as possible, there's one sucker out of a million people who saw it that will click, right? It just turns out by probability, I'm not that one person. Neither are you guys.
Yeah, but I mean, no, I'm definitely like those 1%ers are just out there, right? So
And they're
it makes
still
sense.
clicking at the
We
end of the
are
day. Like that's still one extra click, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Um,
But I think like probably the main focus of this episode is not really going to be on the content creator sponsorships. I think we're mainly looking at like speed cubing sponsorships, kind of as a, if you will, like a results based type thing, because that's
the fast
typically
boys.
that's typically what you see in like other sports, and you know, I think it'll be cool to maybe draw some parallels to other sports. So yeah, we've already mentioned cube stores. You know, so these people like they sell cubes, they have websites and stuff. I think another thing that's really interesting is I think manufacturers have also gotten into the sponsorship game a little bit. I think most notably GAN, I think probably has like the most notable like sponsorship.
The GAN Gurus.
Yeah. The team, if you will.
Gurus.
Mm-hmm.
The team.
Our dear friend Danny Park
Yeah.
is a GAN Guru.
No,
I
yeah.
forgot about
Yeah.
that.
As well as, you know, many well-known cubers. I think Max and Felix are both GAN Gurus.
Yes.
I don't
Wait.
remember if.
Wait, are they? No,
I
is
feel
Max
quite
a GAN Guru? I think he switched to
in the dark about
Rubik's.
this.
Oh, really? Okay.
I think so. Yeah.
Is there a rule that you can't be on like multiple teams at once?
Yeah, I think that's a thing. Like that's kind of like what Manu was talking about when we're talking about sponsoring Fast Boys, basically. Like, and there are some capacities where I think you're exclusive if you're. Like it doesn't make
like
sense
if they're
to be.
competitors, right? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, like you
Yeah.
can't be a sponsor of both Chi and GAN. I mean, maybe you can. I don't know what's in those stipulations, right? But maybe if it's something that's non-competitive, like I think a common combination you see is the Cubicle and GAN. Like that's a common because a cube store is not a cube manufacturer.
Right.
So
they're
it
not the
doesn't
ones who are
impact
making
your
the puzzles.
sales. In fact, the Cubicle will drive your sales for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that. Like, if I don't know, Chi advertises hard enough, it would actually push down sales for like MoU and all the other companies. So, like, Chi will tell. I don't know exactly what the rules of a sponsorship are, but like maybe they'll send you a document that says like you can't.
Like, yeah, don't
going
promote
around.
like other people's stuff and things like
Yeah,
that. But yeah, in any
I'm-
case, I think it's really interesting that like cubing manufacturers have also kind of entered the scene, because it felt like for the longest time that the speed cubing community was kind of separated from the manufacturers. And this goes back, I feel like, a long ways to when you know, we used to get a lot of puzzles that were like not really speed cubing oriented, or that were like not speed cubable. But nowadays, even like a lot of the novelty items are like relatively like speed cubable. You know, you can like do corner cutting and stuff on them. We have a lot of budget cubes now that are relatively like speed cubable as well. So it's very interesting to see that like the manufacturers have also like kind of gotten into space and almost like have legitimized, maybe not legitimized, but they're also invested. They quite literally, they are invested in growing speed cubing, which is, I think, is pretty cool.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Do you guys have a company off the top of your head that you think is like the coolest sponsor? Just off the top of your head, because I think I have mine.
I actually don't even know how many companies are in it. I know GAN is definitely in it. I'm pretty sure Rubik's is in it as well. I don't know if there are Chi sponsors, or if there are Dion sponsors. Oh, there are.
Yeah, that's kind of like I'm not saying they're the best or anything. I just had a favoritism towards this person, so I actually really liked the Chi sponsorships, or the people they sponsored, because I was a huge Sunghook Nam fan.
Oh.
I see.
And then I think Sunghook Nam switched again eventually, but he was using a Valk 3 for a long time, and I didn't even think about the fact that they sponsored people's names in the cubes, like the whole. Anyways,
the
we can
Valk.
go into that a little bit.
Right,
Yeah.
Valkyrie, yeah.
But Sunghook Nam,
The haze.
one of my favorite cubers, because he was a cuber that I could model my turning to, because he was really efficient. He did RUD. I'm a huge RUD fan. If you guys ever watch my streams, my favorite PLL is VPerm.
Your favorite PLL is VPerm.
Yeah, literally. I don't know. I just something about it that's so nice. But
I
Sunghook Nam was
gotta
so
relearn my
smooth.
VPerm then.
So smooth, and the way that he was getting such fast times, and the World Championships 2019 or 17, Sunghook Nam was like this close. It was
he got a
2017.
timer reset.
It was 20.
right?
Yeah, it was
Yeah, that sounds
2017.
right, yeah,
Because
2017.
2019 was the whole like within 0.10 seconds of each other in the top 8. I remember
That was the
one.
one with like Sean Patrick of Illinois. But anyway.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
so.
and that was a Sebastian Weyer. Yeah, who and his brother
Philip.
Philip.
Yeah. Anywho, Chi. So that's like my most memorable like sponsored cuber / company that sponsors for someone. Also because I think Chi is a great company in general. Well, at least at the time, they've kind of taken a little bit of a downturn with their releases, but during that time it was like peak.
But did they do anything special with like how they like branded themselves during sponsored messages?
No, I don't think so.
Because
I think the one thing that screwed them up was they did Valk Power, and then they did the Valk 3 Elite, where you had to change your magnet settings by taking out the centers. Like, that was a waste of time.
Oh.
Yeah, I remember the Valk Power.
Yeah.
Valk
So,
Power
I
was
mean,
not-
I guess, yeah, maybe that actually highlights the point. Maybe just because of the hardware that I liked it.
Maybe. The other thing is, it's somewhat hard to keep track with the cubing companies, because there are a lot of different like sub brands, and like
Yeah.
throwback to I remember Gogan Yushan Pro, right?
Oh
the
my
original
God.
Gogan Yushao. Like I did not even know, because apparently that's like a subsidiary of X-Man, which is a subsidiary itself of Chi, which I had just no idea like altogether. Plus there's like a bunch of other companies. I think like YJ, is YJ a separate company, or is it also a subsidiary of Chi?
YJ
I
used
don't
to be a subsidiary of Moyu. They used to be the budget brand for Moyu,
I see.
but then they separated.
Oh,
recently.
interesting. I did not know that.
Mhm. So YJ is its own brand, yeah.
And then X-Man, I think X-Man is definitely a sub brand.
Chi subsidiary, yep.
But yeah, it gets like very complicated very quickly with all of these. Not to mention, the namings for a lot of cubes have also gotten pretty crazy over the years. I think at some point we were like, but the Moyu had like they have like their own budget
License
brand now,
plate?
which is like Yeah, the license plate. Yeah,
license plate. Freaking. I think Moyu. That's where Moyu messed up. Like, I think in terms of recognition and just like they diluted their brand like so heavily between the years of like the Moyu. I want to say Moyu Tanglong era. All the way until so like 20. I don't know.
That's like 2016. That's like 2016.
All the way until maybe the Moyu Weilong GTS 2. Like right up until that cube. So maybe it does have something to do with hardware at the end of the day. I just felt like their brand was so like I was so confused. And then their hardware wasn't like absolute peak, at least in my opinion. Mm-hmm. There were better things that I could use. And yeah, I don't know. I just felt like Moyu was the most confusing during that time because, like you said, there were all these subsidiary brands.
Yeah, this is a major problem. But anyway, this episode is not about cubing companies. It's more about sponsorships. But I think Moyu also has sponsored Cubers, right? I think
they sponsor. I think Drew Brad's, Livia Kleiner are the first names that come up in my head.
That sounds
right. I think they sponsor some European Cubers. I'm not entirely sure though.
I know that Moyu has that thing where like if you get a sub 4 time we'll give you $13,000 or something. I don't know if they had a bounty.
Oh yeah,
they had a
bounty. Yeah. Oh, Yusheng, they sponsor a ton of Chinese Cubers. So
Yusheng
I think Yusheng Du is Moyu.
Okay. So
he's not,
I guess he also claimed the bounty too, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, he claimed the bounty.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty neat. Well, yeah, so I think it's cool that like that the companies get into the space. They have like an active, to the fact where they're actually just putting out bounties, right? It's like go break these barriers, right? I think that's really cool to see.
I kind of want to, add on to that though, or like pivot into maybe the next conversation that we wanted to talk about, right? Because you talked about the bounty with the money. Like, I'm not sure about the stipulations of what cubing sponsorships in the modern day look like, but I am going to confidently say that maybe aside from like 2 or 3 people, that cubing is not a profession. Is that something where it's not something where like you can use your trade to earn an income to have a sustainable living, right?
Yeah, I agree. I don't like everyone is doing this voluntarily, and it's honestly a miracle.
Yeah,
but,
I think
no.
I think like most people at best, they get maybe you get like a trip to Worlds possibly. Like I feel like it's not much more than that. It's not like I think I know like Smash sponsorships and like esports in general. Though those sponsorships go pretty they go pretty hard. Those are like more like, but you're also like kind of doing it more or less as your job, right? Or you're doing like some sort of content creation that's like primarily focused on you're playing Smash or you're playing League or you're playing Valorant or whatever. But yeah, I think cubing right now is not in that space.
If I'm not mistaken, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but one of the ways of just driving income is basically is just how your placements, right? So for example, chess, I think chess is a good example. It's pretty common for people to pay out of pocket to go to attend tournaments and stuff like that. And like, it could be something where you need to pay $1,000 to attend a chess tournament. And in order to break even, like you'd have to place like top 16 or something like that. And even that in itself is so inherently hard. So unless you're like literally a chess 1%er, it's just not a profitable experience for you. And then in cubing, it would be the same way, but clearly, like, that bounty is a miracle. I don't really think it's something that's consistent right now for cubing. But if it was a world where we could do that, I would love to do that. I think, cubers need to be recognized for their work to some capacity at some level. But what I was going to say was, cube companies could sponsor their travels for them or sponsor their fees. So like, for example, that chess player, if it was sponsored by a company, that expenditure is all waived. And then he gets to compete, place, represent the brand, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think...
I feel like...
Go ahead.
Oh. I was going to say that like in a capitalistic world, there's no reason why a company would pay for a competitor's travel when they know that the competitor is going to go anyway. So like... I guess I'm just trying to think like as a competitor, I guess you shouldn't just say, oh, I'm not going to go to Worlds unless you pay for it. But if you say, oh, I'm going to go to Worlds no matter what, then like
Right.
I think that probably there's some sort of like mutual relationship, and that's probably where contracts come into play.
Yeah,
like
probably.
It's like a black and white setting. Like we will pay for 70% of your comps attendance, stuff like that.
Yeah. At least like
and that's like something you would sign.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm sure it's written down in pen and paper so that like edge cases like that wouldn't appear.
Yeah, or at least that, like it's clear or written into the contract that like okay, like this is what you can expect from us, right? But I think to go back to like it would be cool if people to like what are the steps so that people can like make a living off of it. Like I think like for big competitions, like obviously like local competitions, these are not particularly they're not particularly expensive. At most a local competition is going to be $50. It's not really going to be much more than that. But when we get to like the championship level competitions, like a regional championships, a national championship, continental championships, which are huge, and then obviously the granddaddy of them all, world championships. It would be interesting to see if like cube companies or just general like sponsors, yeah. If sponsors would be able to offset some of that. But I think a big problem, I guess, quote unquote problem in the cubing market is that there isn't really that much like the volume of cash that's like being exchanged is just isn't there, right? Like like it would require like relatively large investments, it feels, from outside corporations to kind of like prop up a lot of like the nascent community. Because I mean, even though speed cubing has been around since like 1982, it still feels like a really like a really grassroots community, right? Like there isn't that much like recognition from like big companies, but that is also like sort of changing a little bit. I mean, we saw RedBull enter the space several years ago, and then also like recently, Rubik's has like also been more and more involved in trying to support cubers and doing initiatives with the WCA and stuff. So that could be an interesting thing. What are your guys' thoughts on how these large like big companies have like kind of like entered cubing, and like what do you think it'll look like in the future?
Well, I think with RedBull, I remember when I heard it, like my first reaction was like, RedBull makes drinks. This is like so unrelated. But I mean, they probably have like, since everyone drinks drinks and 0.1% of people cube, they're sitting on a much larger volume of like capital.
Well, it's not just that. I mean, RedBull also does like a lot of like I think extreme sports stuff, right? Like they
like the parachuting.
Oh,
like
BMX.
Parachuting.
RedBull BMX, yeah.
They have BMX. I know they do. I've seen them. I know that they have like facilities for like I think is it skiing, snowboarding, or some sort of like winter sports. So
they also have RedBull gaming. Like RedBull Mind Games is a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like
that's interesting.
It's a thing.
Yeah, I guess like they are more of a brand than just a beverage maker.
Yeah, definitely.
Because like they're so invested in these things.
I
It's kind of interesting that it's like they do extreme gaming and then cubing, and like a lot of people think those are opposites. I mean, they kind of are, but
I mean, it's just like I think they like to pick up things that are like that are a little bit eccentric, and it's like there are these people who do like these like quote unquote crazy things, right? Like it's either whether it's extreme sports or whether it's like just being like intellectually talented, perhaps. Yeah, but I think they like to pick up stuff like that.
It reminds me of this subreddit called The Ocho, which it just spotlights these very eccentric hobbies. Like one of them was like bathtub racing.
What does that involve? Like cleaning a bathtub?
I think like you just build your own bathtub and you add wheels to it and you try to make it aerodynamic, and then you like sit in the bathtub as you go along the race.
That sounds pretty sick.
I feel like Red Bull could sponsor that.
I would watch
that. So I think like Red Bull is an interesting thing that comes into play. Same thing as Rubik's, and it I kind of want to do a quick number crunch. It's not really in depth, right? But let's think about average wage, right? And what a cost of living standpoint would be, because that's what a professional cuber is. This is what I do, right? And this is my full-time job. You probably can't do a full-time job if you do this like for a living, because you're going to be traveling all the time. But what is the common thing? So let's just think about our expenses. I actually have my trusty old calculator on me.
Okay. Wow, this is
common
legit.
rule. Yeah, the common rule.
Accounting stream.
Yeah.
I mean,
so this is advice. If you pay rent, your rent wants to be, what is it, 1/3 of your monthly income?
I think so, yeah.
So let's say, for example, your rent is $1,000 a month. So you're looking for $3,000
$36
every month, right? And then times 12, so that's $36,000. So this is what it looks like to live in the Bay Area. $36,000 every year, $3,000 a month. So let's say, for example, you attend a comp a week.
Yeah, and some people do.
Huge undertaking, but
I know.
But you'd have to
Chris
travel,
Martin is
so you have to
pretty close
pay it
that.
out, right? You have to
Yeah,
pay
you-
for
Oh,
it. So you have to,
yeah, because like when you travel every week, you're gonna be spending
like $20
a lot
every
more
week,
travel every week.
at least, right?
Yeah, exactly. So you need to make $750 a competition after expenses. So that sounds like you need to make maybe $1,000 a competition.
That's
Like-
if you're just like, you know, if your like flights and stuff are just like super cheap, right? If you're just going to like a
Yeah.
local competition, you're just driving there or something.
Yeah,
Well-
yeah. So like $1,000 a competition, and that sounds pretty cheap now. And then this is the conversation. If you're a professional cuber, like we're not talking about cubing as in like, oh, if you're like the top cube in the world, probably those numbers are achievable for you in one way or another. Like you're getting the money somehow. But if you're like, say for example, you're a top 50 cuber in the world, are you gonna receive these benefits? Probably not. But that's what it's gonna look like. You know what I mean? At least if you're in the Bay Area.
Would you count it as professional speed cubing if most of the money comes from like making YouTube videos of your results and then
Yeah.
those get lots of views?
I
and
would
you
say
get
it.
ad
I would
revenue?
say it is because
But,
like
like,
that's where you talk about like, you know, all these financial specialists say like have multiple income streams, stuff like that.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah,
because
passive
that's part of
income.
because you're building your personal brand, and that's through YouTube.
Yeah,
Your
Yeah,
brand
'cause
is what sells, and that's YouTube is part of it.
Yeah, because I know I mentioned like Leo Borromeo in a previous episode, but you know when I was looking at his YouTube and like I see the numbers, like I already know that like ad revenue wise, like that could just become his livelihood. I know he's still a kid, but
right.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know, based on his like official results right now, he's probably like top 50, but not top 10. Maybe just because competitions haven't happened in the Philippines, but well, I guess what I'm saying is like that's an example of like, okay, I'm not winning every competition, but you know I can still turn this into a full-time
You
career.
actually made a very good point here,
Yeah.
Carrie, because that's something I hadn't considered. If you divide that number by 3, right? So we only have $12,000 per revenue stream. Let's say we have 3.
Like 3
Sponsorship,
streams. Oh, sponsorship.
$12,000,
Okay.
$12,000 for competitions, and $12,000 in ad revenue. In ad revenue meaning you make content,
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
right? And specifically probably YouTube, because you're your own person. Like a lot of people who are their own business, like that YouTube is a way to get ad revenue. And if you're something where you're like it's by trade, like it's a specific skill set, that could work for you if you're the right person. So if you think about $12,000 instead, right? You just divide all the numbers by 3, all the stuff that I mentioned, right?
Yeah.
So you need $1,000 a month. Divide that by 4. That's not too bad, right? Like that's
I mean, the
something
first-
where it's, you know,
The first
that's
bell
not too
that's
bad.
like ringing is the bounty for a sub 4 was 13,000. So you just need one sub 4 solve a year. And like I think Timon could do that. I mean, he had that 3.75.
That is true. You don't need to make money at every comp. You just need to average it out.
You just
That
need
is
like
true.
those like banger hits to like get you enough money to
Yeah.
be smooth sailing for the next 10 comps.
Like if you win Worlds, right, and you know, like you just cash out big at Worlds, then you're like good for the rest of the year, right?
Yeah, I bet that's
But
how
what-
like some poker players do it.
Probably. I think that's also probably how a lot of, well, this is my guess, is how like esports also works as well. It would seem reasonable to me
Yeah.
that like, you know, you want to be like competing at a high level, but like once you get like a couple quality wins, then it's just like, okay, like now like financially we're good for the rest of the year. Now we can focus on like perhaps like, you know, like more like grinding or whatever we need to like maybe spend this money on so that we can improve and so we can make more money next year. Whether that's
Yeah.
like, you know, maybe an editor or maybe you need to buy new equipment. Like, you know, I need to buy a better computer so I can game, or I need to hire an editor so I can, you know, make more money editing YouTube
Yeah.
videos, or, you know, practice facility. I don't know, lots of stuff.
Well, this
Yeah, I
is
remember-
like.
Oh.
Oh, go ahead, Gary.
Yeah, no, you go ahead.
Well, I wanted to say, like, if I broke down the number about a sponsorship, like a $12,000 sponsorship deal, like let's say for example Rubik's, if you divide that by 40, like the cost of unit of like a good cube, a Rubik's cube, like that's 300 units. Like, do you think a person could drive that just by like just a cuber?
300
Is that no 300 total? So $12,000 divided by 40 per unit. So that's
per year.
Per unit
per
for
year.
a year, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think a person could drive that? Because if they could drive, obviously there's more expenditures, but that's one expenditure to cover.
No, I'm sure, like, you know, when J-Perm shouts out a cube, that probably drives a... Okay, I don't want to make an estimate, but I think it's more than... How many did you say it was? 300?
300.
Okay.
300.
Maybe around 300. Maybe it's, like, under that, and I don't want to, like...
I mean, we have
speculate.
no idea, right? That's the thing.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah. I have some data on, like, conversion rates from my own, like, YouTube stuff, but... It varies so much, right? Like if
definitely.
If your audience is like kids, well then it's like the parents buying the product. But if you're like a finance YouTuber who talks about like what stocks to buy, the conversion rate is really, really good. But I know that's like off topic.
Of course,
Right.
yeah. I mean, it definitely depends on like the demographics and stuff. But I feel like for cubing, like, I feel like if you ask someone to sell 300 cubes in a year, that doesn't seem that crazy. I mean, you have to sell on average 1 cube a day. And most of the time you sell them in chunks anyway, so it doesn't seem that insane.
Yeah.
If you can sell like 5 cubes a week, then that seems like you're gonna at least get close to hitting the target. The cat is concerned about Carrie is gonna sell out to the cubing sponsors. He's gonna sell cubes for a living instead of doing YouTube.
No, it's not selling out. It's like getting your worth. It's
true.
Yeah.
Get that
Like,
bag. Hell yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
Carrie, what did you want to mention earlier? I don't know if you still remember.
Something. Oh, I was just gonna say that, like, if you sell 300 cubes, the profits from that. Well, the first thing is that the profit margin might be like 20% of that.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is that the company that is sponsoring you should also take a chunk of that. So
that's true.
The amount of money like you're gonna make from selling a cube is probably, like, I would guess 10% of the price of that cube.
Yeah, I could believe that.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Plus the other thing, I think, all this back of the envelope calculation, if we do presume that, okay, like, like you need to be making like 36,000 a year, right? That's also just living like that's like your bare minimum, right? Like you really are gonna be kind of like scrapping around at that level. You probably want to be making more than that so you can afford things like a computer, so that you want to make your YouTube videos and stuff, so you can afford to fly if you want to go to like a particularly far competition or something. So all these this is fun to think about, but I'm sure there are a lot of other like factors that would come in. But in any case, I think it would be very interesting if like more like larger companies got involved and really like started to put like a lot of money into speed cubing. It'd be really cool. I think it would be very beneficial for the growth of the sport, while also maintaining like the grassroots nature of everything, where if someone just wants to show up to just a local competition, you just learned how to solve the cube, by all means, it's still going to be fun for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think if a big company is sort of like inspiring people to pick it up themselves, it's still grassroots, because it's like the individuals are still the ones who are going out to the competition.
Mm-hmm.
But like the big company just getting it in front of more eyeballs.
Yeah.
I feel like if you're like top 100, like these days, at least for 3x3, if you're like within that top 100, maybe even 200, like there's a decent amount of those people that are probably like sponsored by companies, right? And sponsored as in like maybe travels or taken care of, maybe they get free cubes and stuff like that. Like it's varied, right? But I don't know, just thinking about the numbers of what it looks like to be a professional, I don't know, man. It sounds like a long ways
it's
away.
Tough.
And
it's tough.
And it's not, but like, I'm biased. I want to see these cubers get rewarded for their skills, but I mean, it is just a toy at the end of the day.
I mean, hey, like,
Yeah.
you know, that I think that was the mindset about gaming, you know, not too long ago, right? It's
Yeah.
like these guys are just playing a game, right? Like, you know, like, what is so interesting about this? This is like nothing compared to doing like an actual sport, like if you were playing football or basketball. But you know, we've seen over the years that esports has been on the rise, right? Like, and there's I think a big reason is that there's a lot of money in it. You know, there's a lot of outside companies who are willing to, who are also like, yeah, we think that this stuff is cool. We want to sponsor it. We want to see people succeed. We want to see them get rewarded. We want to see them compete on the biggest stage. And you know, we're willing to put in this investment. It's quite literally investment, right? It's like, we believe in you guys, so yeah, we really want to see you succeed. So here's the cash. Go make your dreams come true. So I don't know. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'd love to see it.
Yeah.
One other thing I wanted to add, when it comes to like people who say, "Oh, it's just a game," or "It's just a toy," or "It's just a hobby," is like, I always think of this YouTube channel called Ants Canada, I think, and it's just like a channel that just records ants doing things.
That sounds so
What?
sick.
Really?
And it has like 5 million subscribers, and I always just think, like, it doesn't really matter what you do, but if you can make it entertaining and, you know, build an audience.
Yeah, there's a niche
Like,
for everything, right?
Yeah, like once you get to those numbers, like 5 million, like, you're just smooth sailing for the rest of life, essentially.
Yeah, that also reminds me of the Marble Olympics. Man, those things are just
Oh,
Oh
Those are
my
great.
god,
Marble
I love those.
Those are
they
so
take a lot of
amazing.
work though. No,
I
but they
would
look
love
like
to
they take a ton of work.
Oh, they're definitely. But
yeah.
but they definitely take a lot of work, but they're so entertaining at the end of the day. But like, if you had to tell someone, it's like, you know, it's like, oh yeah, what do you do? You know, you're at a party or whatever. It's like, oh, I make marble runs at YouTube, and so other
Yeah,
people
it
are just
sounds-
like, what? It sounds so. It
Yeah.
sounds like really odd, right? But people find it entertaining. Like, we all find it entertaining. It's really really fun to watch.
Red number
the-
3.
Yeah, the quality of
number
the
3.
content is amazing. So, yeah, I don't know. So where there's a will, there's a way, right? Something will always
Exactly.
get done, and especially for people who are passionate with what they do, you know, sometimes, you know, monetary barriers don't really mean that much. So, but in any case, it would be cool if that were not a barrier at all, right? That way, you know, more people could get into the hobby.
I mean,
and yeah,
we have
do
no
some
horses in
stuff.
the race. Like, we're not ranked at all. We're not anywhere close to ranking, so we're not
Manu
biased
has
towards
a
ourselves here.
NR.
Oh, Manu does have an NR, yes.
Well, I did have some NRs, yeah, but those are.
I mean, do you ever put that on resumes? Okay, this is off topic now.
I never. I do tell people just randomly though. It's like, oh, you know, like, you know, I had a national record in Rubik's Clock at some point. Then they ask, oh, what is Rubik's Clock? I'm like, oh, it's kind of like Rubik's Cube, but like, so I have told people at some from time to time.
Oh my
but-
god, dude, we would definitely, if we create a trivia game, like, who was the India NR holder for clock in
2013.
In 2013.
Well, not only is
with
it,
the result of, and then no one, and then, you know, that's the tiebreaker question.
No one
oh,
knows.
they need to know the result. That's too much. But I mean, not only is it
16,
an
17
NR.
was the single, so I think
17.
16, 17 was the
Oh,
second NR single.
I'll have to remember that. But
She
like, not
sponsored
only is
this
it
man.
an NR, but it's like an NR of the second most populous country. So it's not like
Oh yeah,
the
that's
Vatican
true.
City.
Yeah,
it's not
true, that's
Lithuania.
It
That is
as
a
well
claim
have been
to
the-
fame.
It might as well
Best
have
of
been
a
Vatican
billion
City,
people.
but you know, I guess a trailblazer, whatever. I guess I'll take that. But in any
Right.
case, yeah, quite off topic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and
Well-
one last thing I want to say is I said the word Lithuania, but that's only because it has a small population. So any Lithuanians watching,
No offense.
yeah, no offense. I was just picking
No
a country with less
No
than
one cancel
100
us.
million
Don't
people.
cancel us.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway,
It's alright.
on that note,
Is
shall
it
we wrap
time?
up?
Yeah, I think it's time, guys. Well, it has been quite an episode. Hopefully, cubing will look like. Hopefully, cubers will be rewarded in the future. We're all hoping for that.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah.
Time to
Sounds
wrap
good.
up. Yeah, hopefully all the viewers enjoyed. This was a bit of a shorter episode, but hopefully you enjoyed our thoughts on this, and leave some comments. What do you guys think the future cubing will look like? Do you have any sponsors in mind that you think could be big in the cubing world? That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you got this far in the video, clearly you like the content, right? So it'd be great if you could like and subscribe. Hell yeah, trying to grow the channel every single week. But yeah, I don't know. That's all the shill I got for now, at least.
And because this episode's about sponsors, any sponsors watching,
please
reach out.
Please, we need some money. We want to make a studio.
Are we gonna turn into that? Are we gonna turn into the podcast where like maybe like 10 minutes through we just do a hard cut? And like, do you ever feel like you need to be more active in your life? Well, try this. You know what I mean. So.
Yeah, like, did you know that like 40% of men experience male pattern baldness?
Oh no,
that one that shows up so often.
That one doesn't show up very often.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess. Well, I mean, if it happens, it happens. But maybe for now, no sponsors.
For no sponsors.
Are you a cuber that has to travel every single week and can't afford to make their own food? Well, you should try HelloFresh.
Oh,
whoa,
that'd be interesting. I was gonna say join the club because I can't afford to make my own food.
Yeah, Chai, I feel like you already got the voice for it.
Oh no.
I can already imagine myself.
We're practicing the sponsor segments in the middle of the podcast.
Oh yeah, I guess the podcast is still going.
Okay.
Because we didn't say goodbye yet.
I think we have to wave goodbye, guys. Is that the cue?
Yeah, the cue is to wave, even though the audio people can't see it.
Yeah, the audio people won't see it. It's fine.
Audio
Trust
people,
us.
thank you so much for listening to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. You're the best. Red Circle.
Toodles. We'll see you next week, everyone.
Bye, everyone.